Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Pallas. This week's show is about how to bring peace, how to bring about peace. It's supposed to be a season of peace, yet for some, it only brings anxiety and agony. So we want to try and find some way to let people know that we're here and our world desperately needs peace. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, grant StreamYard access so we can see your name when you comment or have a question. Please remember to keep all comments and questions related to the show topic and that this is a safe space. Let's give a shout out to our top sponsors. Thank you so much, Ruth, Kirsten, Michelle, Ray, and Heidi. Your generosity and support continues the show. And if you enjoy it, you can go to sherrypallas.com, and there's a whole bunch of ways that you can support it. There's even a support tab. So thank you in advance, but more importantly, thanks for being here and welcoming us into your home. I appreciate you. Okay, on with the show. Let's meet our guests and get smarter. First, we have is that working? Oh, there it goes. There we go. Lisa Maria Mayers has been on the yoga mat and in meditation for over 20 years. She is a manifestation coach, law of attraction teacher, and coach. She has lived abroad for many years, faced death, and can tell you that life is so much fun. Welcome back, Lisa. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Sherry? Great to be here.
Thank you so much. I am glad you're here. So next we have Daphne. Daphne leads people by igniting the fire in them. She has found deep healing in facilitating workshops and working with individuals where she excels in holding space and guiding people deep into the wisdom of their bodies, where the real healing and transformation happens. Daphne has enthusiasm for empowering others and lives by example. She is an active I did this last time to you, Daphne. Vita coach for love, intimacy, and relationships. Level 2 warrior goddess facilitator and Sundar Sakahan, master firewalker trainer. You know what? If I don't screw up an intro, it's just not the show. Hi, Daphne.
Hey, Sherry, you did fantastic.
Okay. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here.
Me too.
And last but definitely not least, we have Michelle. Reverend Michelle Saveco is a PhD, is retired, but continues to serve by sharing reflections, music, meditations, spiritual counseling, and more with open-hearted, open-minded, inclusive individuals, groups, churches, and centers. She also facilitates rhythm drum circles. Reverend Shell focuses on new thought teachings and practices universal principles, celebrating everyone in individualized expressions of the one, and honoring all loving past and people. She identifies as a new thought, practical, positive Christian, coming from a very diverse background, but is pluralistic in her approach to spirituality. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. So we are going to be talking about peace. And, it's supposed to be the season for peace, and we are supposed to be loving everybody. And a lot of times people just feel more alone than ever. So I wanted to, and this was actually a topic that wanted to be discussed in our Fireside Creators group on Facebook. And coincidentally, I wrote a piece on my Medium account, which is Sherry Pallas PhD, that talks about the sadness that a lot of us feel. So I hope that this show will help a lot of people out there and teach us to have a more peaceful world. And I think that we should start at the most important one, us, right? Mm-hmm. We can't give peace unless we know peace. So how do we start with that? Lisa, you're up top. I'll let you start.
Thank you, Sherry. I think, like you said, the importance of starting with us. Everything starts with us, right? Every
Right.
way that we interact with this world is always from the position that we're facing the world. And I think that some of the things that I think about when I think about bringing about peace is realizing that often when people are disgruntled or upset, it's really not about us, right? It's often about their own frustrations
Yeah.
and what they're dealing with. And then it's a natural as humans for us to project that or for other people to take the brunt of that. And I think it's important that we always realize or try to, I mean, it's not always the case, right? To when we're encountering someone who's suffering or snippy or sharp or persnickety or whatever mood they're in, that we realize it's probably really not about us. And then we can extend kindness and compassion and open our hearts up to them and actually not respond the way that they probably are expecting us to like sharp back or, actually go, oh, I'm sorry. Or, it sounds like you're having a hard day. Do you want to talk about it? Right. There's just so many ways that we can respond that are different, that are not like what everybody expects people to do or what is kind of usual.
Respond, not react.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Respond, not react. So not using our own frustrations, going, oh, you got sharp with me. Right. And then shooting back. It's like, wait, hold on a minute. What is this person really trying to say, or what is it that they can't say, right? What is it that they're grappling with or dealing with? Could be illness, could be family, could be their own illness, could be job woes. There's so much stuff going on right now. It could be anything. Exactly. So I think it starts with having a calm disposition, a relaxed disposition, an automatically not defensive place. And then there's more to expound on that as we go. But I think being self-aware is really the key. That's where we start.
My favorite agreement in the Four Agreements by Manuel, I'm not going to
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Thank you. Is it's not about you. And of course I'm paraphrasing that, but
take nothing personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, when you don't take it personally, when you realize it is on someone else, that can bring some internal peace. Michelle, what do you say?
Well, you know how we've talked for decades now about be the change.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is be peace. And I wrote a chant several years ago where you think peace, feel peace, and then you put those things into words, into actions, and you be peace. But to me, everything starts with thought. And from that thought, you get a feeling. And so, like at the end of the peace song, and like Lisa said, everything begins with us. So we have to be mindful of what our thoughts are to begin with. And then what kind of feelings those thoughts are producing. And if they're producing thoughts that aren't constructive and compassionate and peaceful, that we kind of relook at those thoughts. And which isn't always easy to do when you're in a conversation and things are just kind of going on spontaneously. And then I hear my grandmother's voice saying, count to 10. And it's like before
time
you
out.
snap back, count to 10. And usually by the time I get to 5, it's like, okay, I'm not going to snap back. But just being aware of the number 2 of the agreements, take nothing personally. Also number 4, always do your best. So that and just staying mindful of those practices. And that
I think that's a big thing, because I think if people remembered to count to 10, I mean, I'm speaking of myself, but I would imagine there are others out there that just forget. You're so on fire, you're so wrapped up, angry, upset, crying, that you forget to go, whoa, just stop.
Well, I think probably my most used thing in situations like that is to just kind of stand there for a second, take a breath, and say, thanks for sharing, rather than saying something that's kind of a not, like making it nonviolent communication. where I can just say, thank you for sharing.
See, now,
And,
if I
and
said
whether I
that,
really appreciate it or not really doesn't matter. What matters is that I haven't, add fuel to the fire. And there's
if
kind
I
of no
said
place
that,
for the other person to go.
if I said that, it would be passive aggressive as fuck. That
What do you mean?
I would be like, give me a
No.
second to load my gun would be, I think the message I would
Hey,
have
well,
to,
you get points for honesty.
yeah, I would have to come up with something that would be more me. Daphne, what do you have to say?
I find this time of year especially triggering for so many people from their childhood holiday experiences, family in town, which I have family staying with me. So for me, it's about fortifying myself and establishing boundaries. I'm actually leaving with my kids for Christmas because that's the healthiest choice I could make for us. And letting everyone know ahead of time, you guys are welcome to be here, but we're going to take off for a couple of days because that's what we need. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and my other piece is a gratitude practice that I have that I've been using for years now. And I'm using it a lot more this time of year. And I can tell whenever I start to get into that panic or the worry and I need to be fortifying myself, I can sink into the most basic, what am I grateful for? And before I even get out of bed in the morning and I wake up, I mean, it could be, I'm grateful I can walk to the toilet. I'm, I'm grateful that, we're alive. Like, you can always find something to be grateful for. And I find that it really shifts me back into that heart space instead of that head space where I'm trying to solve and be triggered and navigate the family stuff. So again, that fortifying myself with whatever tools I need to take care of myself, whether it's leaving, whether it's meditation, or whether it's gratitude, take care of myself. And then everything else will fall into place in a much more peaceful sense.
It's just like the airplane, put your mask on before you take care of someone else. A friend of mine got me onto the gratitude list, and I had a diary that I listed the 10 things that I was grateful for every day. I changed phones. I went from an Android to an iPhone, and it's not iPhone compatible, and I haven't found one similar. I can really tell the difference. I can really tell the difference in my days, in my attitude, because I don't have that memory to, that habit anymore. First thing in the morning, start that gratitude list, get it on. And it's been 6 weeks or so at this point, and like I said, I can really tell. It is harder. It's like I don't have that fuel. It's harder to get myself going.
So
like
Sherry,
without
you can just set an alarm. I have recurring alarms on my iPhone. Every 30 minutes it goes off as a gratitude reminder. And I just
Really? That's a great idea.
This gratitude. And when I first started it, no matter where I was or who I was with, my alarm would go off and it has like a fun little sound. And I'd say, would you like to join me in a moment of gratitude?
Oh
And
my God, I love
everybody that I
that.
was with would say, yes. And so we would
I love
exchange
that.
with gratitude until it really was ingrained in me to know when my head was going crazy just to pause and practice it. So yeah, you can just set alarms.
I really
That's
like that
brilliant.
idea.
That is awesome. Yeah, I write that. I've written that in other, sort of yoga retreats I've been on and led. Like, gratitude's the fastest way to feel good, right? It's like if you're in a bad place, you're afraid of the future, you don't know what your finances are going to be, you haven't met your rich husband, whatever your woe is. It's like, you're right. And they're all individual and they're all personal, right? We have stories from childhood to, what's been ingrained in us, what our parents have been shoving down our throats, like everything. But when it's all starting to just cluster everywhere, it's like, take a moment, right? And just say, I'm here. I'm okay, right? I'm healthy. I'm sound. My mind is strong and I can handle whatever this is. And then just start with your gratitude, like you said, and it just catapults you straight into a better place straight away.
Well, and I believe that love and gratitude are the two highest vibrations that there are.
Yes.
And because my God of my understanding, higher power, is energy, that's what we connect through, is that high energy. So as well as starting each day with at least 5 things that I'm grateful for, beginning with waking up to see another day after having a couple life-threatening illnesses. I also end the day with gratitude because I found that I sleep better when I'm in that state of mind.
Yeah, I count my blessings instead of sheep. If I can't sleep, I start thinking about things to be grateful for, and I wake up the next morning. It puts me to sleep like that. What's up, Joel? How are you? Okay, so we cannot give peace away or instill peace into this world unless we have it in ourselves. That is covered. We have that. One of the things that really hit me this week was, and what prompted that article I wrote on Medium, was Twitch and his suicide. And it really hit me because he, along with Anthony Bourdain or Robin Williams or Kate Spade, have everything. They have everything that all of us dream of, and it wasn't enough. And I had to really process that and go through all of that. And it was like every cliche came back on me. You know, money doesn't buy happiness, all of these things that came as cliches and the reality of it. So I think that in bringing peace in your own life is also adjusting expectations and taking things that you can only control within yourself. Because if you won't have peace if you're trying to control everybody else, right?
Agree.
Well, I think I've told you, like years ago when I had my long curly hair before I lost it, I often would say when I was speaking that I learned decades ago that I couldn't even control my own hair, let alone other people.
Yeah.
But getting back to Twitch, and the other people that you mentioned, anybody that's involved, it's like it's an illness. So even though, I could say, well, I have everything going for me in my life. Been married 40 years, have a wonderful daughter, yada, yada, yada. I still got cancer. I still had open heart surgery, and so we have to look at those things, taking your life as mental illness and not, be thinking about, to me anyway, that, he had it all. Yes, you would think he had it all, but apparently there was something else that was not right. And the pain was so deep. I just can't even imagine being in that much pain that permanent solution would seem like the answer.
Agree.
Yeah. I also came to the conclusion, because I heard all of these rumors and reasons as to why. And I came to the conclusion that he had it all, yes, but it was everything that could be taken away. So if our peace and our happiness and our love resides within, no one can ever take that away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once we've centered ourselves, once we are full of peace and smiles, how do we put it out into the world?
By being that peace in our interactions with other people, in sending out those vibrations like I was talking about, that energy, meditating and just feeling that energy flowing out into the community, around your state, around the country, and across the globe, and just really putting it out there.
Mine is give your smile away. I hear the Red Hot Chili Peppers whenever I think of that. Give it away, give it away, give it away now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, if that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to give love away. I'm going to give my smile away. And especially here in LA, because no one looks at each other or smiles or anything. And so I always hope to give that away.
I find that being the example, trying to lead by light, but also sharing in the vulnerability about my own challenges with people.
Yeah.
That really gives them the permission to open up and share about their challenges. And when we really have those deep connections, we're also creating the space for people to share their deep sorrows, and then we can hold them through it also.
Mhm.
Which is what Joel's saying. You know, the everything isn't enough. It's the
Yeah.
we've got to be there in love. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I didn't want to let the Twitch conversation go by.
Okay.
I know we're past it, but I just want to say one thing. I was very, very affected by that as well, because on the outside, he does seem to have what people strive for, that they think that when they attain all that, the perfect family, the kids, the great marriage, the house in Hollywood, wherever, just a great home, security, right? He's loved by many. People endlessly talked about the love and light that he spread, that within him, he had so much positive energy. I can't imagine what story he was telling himself that day when he decided that it all needed to come to an end. And actually that was an epiphany moment, because I thought, it's exactly the story he was telling himself. It's not the story his wife told or what we say or anybody. It was his story. It wasn't what anybody else thought. It wasn't what his kids thought of him or his wife thought of him. Is what he was believing him himself about himself, that led him to take these actions, which were just mind boggling to me. Because he obviously had feelings and suffered in silence. I mean, there was no
Mhm.
of his depression. Like we see with Robin Williams and other people that, maybe they struggled along the way with drug addiction and other things, but Twitch didn't seem to have that history. So that was, I can imagine it was, it's extra mind boggling. But my thoughts about how to bring it about is just, as Michelle said, being that positive energy, even like Twitch was, right? Just being so positive, and like people coming into contact with you and feeling the love, feeling the centeredness that you are rooted in that love and light. And and being that example. Absolutely. Just like Daphne said. Same.
I didn't know if I was going to bring this up. My son's dear friend died yesterday. And he was evidently at my son's house on Saturday telling my son how proud he is of him. And then he died yesterday. He took his own life. And I was going to dedicate the show to him, but then I thought, he's resting in peace. And we need to focus on issuing peace now to the people that are still here. But it's the same. It's, he was a good man, a father, a son, a best friend. And I can't believe he's gone. And no one that loved him believes it either. And it's just so tragic. So if this show, Tears and All, can help someone else out there that's feeling alone, isolated, doesn't have any peace or hope within them, that we can pass that on to them, and that will give them a chance to do so.
Yeah.
And encourage people to talk about it, to share their feelings, hopefully you have at least one person that you can share with, how you're feeling, and not feel like you have to put on a happy face all the time and act like everything is just super duper, and hide what's going on. And I do think it's appropriate at this time of year to talk about it, because we focus so much on presents.
Yeah.
And I thought, what better
With a T,
present can you
presents.
give
Yeah,
than
not
your
presents.
presence?
Yeah.
Yes. And just being there for people. And I think that would be the hardest thing for me, is finding out that somebody's gotten to the point where they thought that was the only way, and that they didn't have anybody that they felt like they could trust enough or be vulnerable enough, or like me, may have grown up in a family where if you were depressed, just get a grip.
Yeah.
you know, and
That's
stuff. And I know there's a lot of people that grew up that way too, where if you had to be strong, you know, and just get control of it and stuff. So
Yeah, someone actually said that to me as a form of comfort. What can you do? And I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm going to try and do something, you know.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry to hear about.
I'm sorry to have dropped it on here, but
No.
it was apropos,
Yeah.
you know, because especially with suicide,
Yeah.
and when someone does something like that, you know that they're not at peace. They have no hope. They have all of that. But one of the cliches around it is so true, and you see it with Twitch, and I see it all over Facebook with Marcel's friends, is that we get their pain when they go. You know, their pain may stop, but it passes it on to all of us. And then we have to learn how to switch those energies back up and make them positive and turn it into a light of some sort so we all just don't wither away in our gloom and grief.
I lost my best friend to suicide at 18, and we grew up together. And, you know, I went to a pretty dark place after she died and found the light after. And then having teens with a lot of mental health issues during the pandemic, I transmuted that light at that point, and I was able to use it for my kids and be like, listen, I've been through this and I'm not going to lose another person. So what do we need to do? And I think when we start having those conversations, we can take some of these are the most painful lessons we experience and we're exposed to, and try to shift that for those that are still with us, that are struggling to know the signs, to have those really hard conversations. You know, I mean, as a mom, you know, it's like there's nothing worse than you can imagine, you know, for me. And it was in my home, you know, it was conversations I had to have.
Yeah.
And Brooke's death prepared me for that, and that I knew I didn't want to ever experience that again with someone I really cared about.
Of course. Yeah, I was just saying that yesterday, the same thing you're saying, Sherry, like we're left with all, right? Like they've left their pain, or they're out of their pain because they're not here to experience it, but then we're here to feel it all. And it's just a weird, right? It's such a weird thought. And like his wife and they all have to pick up the pieces now for who knows how long. And, you know, he just
Yeah,
decided
Marcel has a little boy.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. It's all so tragic that, you know, anybody, you know, whether it's a distant, you know, celebrity with Twitch or Marcel or anybody else that is feeling so not peaceful anytime, let alone this season right now. It's tragedy. Okay, so let's get into some intentions and what can we do to change the world. So second thing, other than setting ourselves into a peaceful way, is to offer a smile, give something away, do something for someone else. Listen. Joel said, you know, that people need to feel understood. They need to be heard. What other ways can we instill peace?
by letting people know they're okay the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's people that have said, well, forgiveness, I think, is a big thing. Making sure there aren't things that you're carrying around, and going through whatever practices and stuff that you depend on to go through forgiveness works. Because I know I have people all the time saying, well, I can't forgive, and they'll name a political figure. And, you know, and things like that. And, or ask, you know, how I can stay at peace. thinking about the things that have been done and that. And it's like, well, I do believe that we are all children of the divine, no matter how you identify or label the divine. We are all connected. And we know that through science. And so I know that no matter what somebody's done, that at the core of their being, that we have something that's connecting us. And they may not be showing it that time, or in my estimation, may not be showing it, but it's still there. And the way I feel the piece is essentially using, for those that are familiar with it, namaste.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, honor.
That's lovely. Yeah, she froze.
She had to have.
She'll be back.
Yeah.
We're live, right?
She's getting to her best points right now, and we're missing
There
it all.
she is.
She's
There
back.
she is.
But yes, just letting people that you know that you see the divine, whether you say you behold the Christ in them, the divine, or just that, like, I know we're connected. I know we're all one. And let them know that they're still okay, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, because that brings about the most anxiety in people, whether or not they're introverts or extroverts, feeling alone, whether or not they are alone, but feeling like no one cares and hopeless and all of those things. No matter who you are, you want someone to care about you.
Mm-hmm.
So just letting people know that you do, that's, unfortunately, we often say it too late. So if we are going to instill peace in this world, if we are going to bring about peace, we have to give it away. We have to be able to say, you are loved, and give peace to someone else who doesn't have it at this point.
And try to get that message across that we are all one. We are all little parts of the whole. And what I does affects you, and it's ripple effects. And I think when people do realize that we are all one, and that what each person does affects, a wide range of people and things, and that it does make them more conscious of the importance of being peaceful.
I have found too, sitting with people with where they're at and their discomfort or their pain or their sadness, and really being comfortable being there. So often we want to cheer people up or help them snap out of something, and instead just really accepting and telling them, we'll get through this at some point, and I'm here with you through it, really helps them not feel alone. And I know for me, when I've had tough times, it's the best gift anyone's ever given me, is to allow me to just go through the whole process of feeling it all and being with me through it.
Mm-hmm. Or not feeling like you have to say something. Because sometimes there's just no words.
Holding space is powerful.
But it's just about that presence, being there for them.
Yeah.
I read a book recently about a breast cancer survivor. I was so moved by her. Her name's Lisa Bonchuk Adams. I was dating a man. Sorry to intervene. I just want to share this amazing story. I was reading this book, and it was such an amazing book. It was about her life and her plight, and she did die, and it was very tragic. But she said somewhere in the book, like, we have to persevere, but even if we can't, just to find moments to teach vulnerability, right? Like to let people know. And she said something also very poignant. It said that her mother used to come to her and say, do you want advice, or do you want me to just listen? And it was like, I loved that. I thought that's so amazing. That's so amazing.
Yeah, I'm really bad at that.
Really?
I am. It's like, oh, let me help you. Yeah, I'm really bad at that. I am working on it, though.
Well, you want to help.
Yeah. I want to help people make it feel better. And and sometimes I should probably just shut up. And that could be a gift of kindness in some cases.
But I think when you're compassionate and stuff. You just naturally,
Want
if you see somebody, whether they're friends, family, or a stranger on the street, if you see them in pain, you just want to fix it. You just want them to feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So, okay, so another way is to offer kindness as an act or a helping hand. We just, covered that. Opening doors for someone, offering with their hands full. I gave a homeless woman one of my bracelets a couple weeks ago, and she burst out into tears. These things are worthless. I mean, they remind me, they keep me at peace, but relatively speaking, they're worthless. And she burst into tears and said that no one had ever given her something that she couldn't sell or needed to survive. And I was thinking, well, I think this is worthless, but it was everything to her. It was everything to her, because if something gave it to her, if she needed to eat, she had to sell it. And because it was worthless, it had all the meaning to her. So you don't have to buy expensive gifts. You don't have to, do extravagant things. Little tiny acts of kindness can change everything.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you guys have done?
I mean, volunteer work, right? Teaching classes for free, right? I mean, I'll do yoga classes. I mean, obviously, I love to do that. I don't really do it for the money, but right, wanting to spread the joy and the wonderful benefits of that practice to enlighten people to their own, inner light, right? So volunteering, sharing your gifts and your talents without charging are certain things you can do. Yeah, as telling a friend, I don't have to give you advice. I can just listen, just have a little vent, just kind of just go into your tangent. I'm just going to be in the background.
Love doesn't run, right? Just be there.
Yeah, like that.
I started an exchange with some female friends where we can text or voice tag each other for bragging and celebrations.
Nice.
So often we're reaching out to vent or bitch about what's going wrong, but really celebrating when we have wins and having those people cheering us on. And that seems to really light each other up and make it okay to celebrate ourselves too.
That's fantastic. Yeah, a friend of mine has, I was trying to think of what she calls it. It's like a mastermind or a warriors group. There's, a few women that help each other do that. And I was like, I want that. And she's like, yeah, you can go find one. But yeah, having those resources and those friends and that, like a squad that you can go to and say, wow, this really sucks. Or, oh my God, guess what happened? This is awesome. Mm-hmm. Having that support system means everything. Michelle, do you have anything? I know you do. You make me feel wonderful all the time.
Oh, and I was just trying to think of what I started doing volunteer work when I was 4. So it's going on 70 years. And I have no idea where to even begin with the stuff that I do. But one of the things that I have stressed, like in the prayer group that I admin, we used to do monthly global wide prayer calls. And one of the things that I would emphasize was not to just contact us with the prayer requests, but also come back and celebrate the successes, because I think it's important for balance that we have both of those things.
It goes back to the gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's always nice to have a group of people that, are cheering you on when you're going through whatever it is you're going through, and then are also going to celebrate with you when you've, gone through it successfully. And
well, being able to get out that angst and anxiety and having a support system definitely helps. And for those that don't, there's Facebook and social media, and find something that you're in your local area. I have moved so many times and I find new people everywhere I go. It's just taking that step to do it. Okay, what about trusting your instincts, or giving someone the benefit of the doubt, or second, third, or fourth chances. What do you think about those types of things to issue peace? Anybody?
I trust my instincts, or try to. I feel like my intuition, which I generally feel in my stomach, that's how God is going, danger, danger. And so I do try to pay attention to that. But in those times where I'm like, oh, maybe it'll be okay, and I give it a chance, it's, there's that saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So it kind of ends up being a 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing, or less, depending on, what it is. But I do like to try to follow my intuition, even when I feel like the answer that I'm getting is not really what I want to do or what I really want to be feeling. But know that in the long run, I'm going to be grateful for it at some point.
Well, some people bring peace, some people bring drama, some people bring pain, all of those things.
Well, they say everybody's a blessing. Somebody coming, somebody leaving.
Going. Yeah.
I found as long as I have whatever boundaries I need to take care of myself, I'm willing to stretch a bit to accommodate. My sister's visiting right now, and it's like, what can I give her without taking away from myself that could still be supportive, because I love her. She's my sister. Even though there's a lot of this kind of energy going on, it's really about what's my limit in order to preserve myself. And with family, they get a little more leeway.
Yeah.
And by choice, right? Like, I believe we chose to be in this family, but also really staying true to what I need to take care of me and honoring that above and beyond.
I really like that, because, once your person, if you don't convey your boundaries and they're crossed, that breeds resentment. And that's instantaneously peace killer, right? If you start getting upset because you feel taken advantage of, or resentful because you didn't enforce your own boundaries, that's gonna, that could turn into World War II, 3, 4.
Easily.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. Again, we keep going back, when I booked this show, I was thinking, okay, we're going to give tips on how to do world peace and all of that. And everything that we're talking about comes back to us. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm a, give you benefit of the doubt person. I am. I do tend to operate more from a compassionate place. I feel like people are silently suffering a lot. I feel like, my parents, or, family, I know that can be tricky, but, I look at some of my family members and I see what environment they've been raised in, and, they just don't have the tools. They just really don't.
Yeah.
And so instead of me being like, you've got issues, it's like, don't we all? It's like, I just remember that, like, we all have issues, and, like, yeah, where can I be the peacemaker? Where can this environment feel loving and wholesome and rooted and grounded and comfortable and safe, and not an attack? Or, if you think differently than me, it's okay. It's okay. It's really okay. I don't, it doesn't bother me. I'm not bothered. So I just try to maintain that, and have a lot of laughs, and maintain that gratitude. But I do trust my intuition too quite a bit. And I let that drive me in a lot of my decision making. But I do think people suffer with personality. I don't want to use the word disorders, but people who suffer mentally, and that comes out in a personality disorder, be it that they get anger too quickly, or they have a, short temper, or they get their feelings hurt and they're, hysterical or dramatic, right? And it's like, how are we going to respond to those kind of, maybe interactions, especially during the holidays? Are we going to bring the peace in those environments and interactions? Or are we going to go, what's wrong with you? Or,
Yeah.
I used to joke about going down to my mother and step grouches for the holidays and making a trip to Dysfunction Junction. And somebody said, everybody has dysfunctional families. And I'm like, doesn't somebody have to be functioning in order for there to be dysfunction? And because there were actually, they didn't know what the word boundaries meant. There were none at all. And if you tried to establish anything, you were squashed.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, boundaries are a tough one. I mean, but it's necessary for self-love. And I mean, I can look back on my life and go, oh yeah, I set a boundary there. That was the first time I set boundaries. And then I can see where I got stronger to set more. But if you are coming from a point of weakness, boundaries can be really difficult. If you don't love yourself, boundaries are almost impossible.
Or if you're dealing with parents that are in their 90s.
Yeah, we're all going to get there. Peace, forgiveness, joy. Yeah.
Also honoring boundaries people set for you, even when you don't like them. It's like we all talk about our own boundaries, and then other people will give us boundaries and we'll push back. Like, that's uncomfortable. No, honor and accept whatever people need, whether you agree with it or not. Let them have their boundary and let them practice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's huge, because you can't expect your boundaries to be adhered to if you're not willing to accept someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. My 95-year-old grandmother was visiting. So to that point, Michelle, and my dad was just sort of like, ooh, right? Because it's like, she wants it like this, and that's how it's going to be. And no one's going to buck 95-year-old grandma. But it's like, there she is, She's like, I want my coffee, and this is how it needs, and everybody's just kind of tiptoeing around her. But right, we're all going to get there, hopefully. Like I told her, you're living. I mean, you're living to your 95. How wonderful! I mean, some people might not see that as wonderful. I think it is, but I think, Anyway, it was a fun interaction.
And I think that comes back to honoring that person. She's kind of earned it at 95, right? And as long as she's not hurting someone's or, any of them. To Joel's question, what about those people who are seriously broken and just poison? I think that affects where the boundaries comes in, to say, look, I love you. I want you in my life, or I can't have you in my life because of these things. But if people heal and become less toxic or to any of those things, to be open for a relationship would instill peace, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
You have to love from a distance sometimes.
Yeah.
Loving somebody doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be a part of their drama or that it's going to be healthy for anybody involved to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. If someone's behaving in a way that it's seriously disrupting your, way of living, you have to definitely just be honest and say, this is where I can't go further. And I love you, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Just be honest. Yeah.
I agree. I'm a big in natural consequences, and you don't even always have to have that conversation. You just position yourself accordingly and maybe let them know if they want to change or need resources, you can direct them, but that you can't sign up for that journey with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it relates to peace, because you can't be at peace if you're having to participate in relationships that aren't healthy on some level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if someone is hurting you, if someone is degrading you, if someone is causing harm, those are toxicities that in my opinion, should be avoided.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a miscommunication, if there's a difference in beliefs that extend no harm, if there is a difference in outlooks or goals, those tend not to be toxic and just difference of opinions, and peace should be the priority in that aspect. So, I mean, if someone is in danger and to be harmed. We have a lot of LGBTQ people that are wondering whether or not they can go home for the holidays because it's not a safe space. Those are the toxicities that should be avoided, because no peace will come from that.
Right.
If you have a disagreement or an argument, forgiveness, love, those things can always patch those up if the toxicity goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Agree. I think there's some basic fundamentals that you have to, right, pillars that you have to go by. Because, I mean, anybody could arguably go, well, it's all relative. It's about our opinion. But I agree. I mean, harmfulness, overly, abusive in any way, that's when we really need to be firm with our boundaries. I agree.
Yeah.
For self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for self-care.
And self-preservation, really.
Yeah.
And there are some people that would do well to learn the difference of being authentic, and that meaning that, like, I've had people say, when I establish some kind of boundary or boundaries, they're like, well, how is that being authentically you? How is that being transparent? And they can't see the difference in those things, that being authentic doesn't mean that I'm not going to have any boundaries and I'm just going to, wear a sign that says doormat.
I get that all over social media, especially on Twitter, where it's, she preaches love and she told Trump to go fuck himself. I mean, there was a huge thing all over social media. I went viral like a year ago because I said I punch Nazis. And everybody was like, how could she be fighting for peace and love if she punches Nazis? And I'm like, because they kill people. That's toxic. Defending the poor, fighting for life. Those types of things are good fights. Those are toxic things that, I'm not going to be a doormat. I'm not going to allow you to defame me and, say all of these things about me. I will stand up. I will do it as from a point of love if I can, though. Still learning.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there you go. Joel, see, Joel. Well, this is why Joel's a friend.
Tell Trump to go. It's self-love.
Okay, so we just have a couple more minutes. We've talked about it coming from us being the most important thing. We can't give it away if we don't have it. Doing things for people, giving a smile or love away. Boundaries. What other types of things could help instill more peace in this world and yourself?
Well, don't forget that teaching oneness, practicing oneness, knowing that we're all connected, everything is connected, and understanding, what that means, the ripple effect.
I think something that could be helpful is with children. I think just from our own childhoods, I can't speak for, you three, but, our parents did the best they could with trying to teach us certain things. And, they might have missed the mark, and, they might have not had the tools in themselves to teach. But I think if we are now wiser human beings and older and more evolved, we can pass on, these sort of thing to our children. Or if you're around young children or anywhere, where the generation can now, evolve into the next one, into being more kinder, compassionate people. Like my own son, I'm teaching him to, realize that people in school, if they're bullying or if they're behaving in a certain way, to not automatically be defensive. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're having a hard time at home. Maybe they don't understand school. Maybe they're struggling in school. Try to help your your teammates in the classroom, and extend kindness to your classmates. That's what I meant, classmates. So just teaching them younger.
Yeah.
Right? Younger.
Well, I was thinking about that today. So I was saved at 6. I went to a Christian school until the 10th grade. pastors at my house every week. And I had never heard the word world peace until I met my best friend who corrupted me beyond belief. And I was thinking about that going, how could, because I remember we were talking about goals and dreams for our lives. I was 12, she was 14. And she said, well, of course, world peace. And I was like, what's that? So
Wow.
I'm still trying to process that as to how that was never a goal that I had ever heard of in my Christian church or school or Bible studies or anything. But in seeing, the world piece of it all, if it doesn't come from home, if it doesn't come from education or parents or family, it's definitely something that people should be aware of, because I was not taught it at church.
Mm-hmm. I also want to add something really underrated is connecting to nature. And we all have access to it on some level or another, but it reminds us of the connection, under the earth, what's going on with the trees and the vastness. And I know for me, it always puts things in perspective to see.
Our granddaughter goes to a nature-based preschool.
Beautiful.
And everything centers around nature and growing things. And I think it's great for her to start that way.
Mm-hmm. And we all have access to it for free.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not us and them. When it comes to us and the trees and the birds and the squirrels and everything, we are all part of it. We're part of nature.
We are nature.
Yeah. I have seen in the growth of myself, my love extending to nature. I was just telling a friend yesterday about how I used to beat the trees when I would get really angry with bats. I'd mentioned it before on the show. And now I sit with them. Now I can stop and look and see the birds and say hello and talk to them and the squirrels and all of those things, because I'm more present. I have more peace about me, and it enables me to be able to love those things. And then my dogs always wrap around the trees with their leashes, so I'm literally hugging trees every time I go out there.
Love that.
Okay, well, we are at the top of the hour. It flew by, and I think that we got a lot of really good stuff and tools out there. And, one of the things that Joel said, learn stillness, echoing everything that we've said, and the conclusion that, yes, Armageddon and rapture in Christ are, does not instill world peace. And that's what I was taught a lot of. So, Lisa, where can people find you if they want to reach out, and what are your final words for tonight?
My final words are, I think we did a wonderful job at, sharing our views around how we bring about peace. I think everybody has a unique set of talents here on the panel, and I already feel like I'm walking away with more that I could be doing. I teach yoga. I also work in tech. It's not that exciting. You could find me at loveyogawithlisa.com. And at my Facebook page, which will be, I guess, shown. And on Instagram, I'm there at Masterful Creators Collective, where I talk about law of attraction and how to use manifestation to create your life, essentially. But I think today has been really awesome. I just want to thank all of you. I learned a lot from each of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Michelle, final words, and where can people find you?
Something that just occurred to me after talking about being nature, part of nature. One of the ways that we may be able to help create world peace is through the environmental work that's being done. We've got a lot of people that they may, could care less about spirituality. They don't agree on politics and stuff, but they care about the environment. And I think if we can get a lot of the countries together in agreement on the things to do to help the environment, the quality and stuff like that, that could be a step toward peace. Even though it might not be what the goal is, it could still end up being, one of the manifestations that we get out of that.
I really like that, because no one is in peace during a wildfire, a hurricane, flooding, and all of the other natural disasters that we're incurring at this moment. The homelessness will rise, starvation will rise. All of these things are potentially issues that we are going to have to deal with, and no peace will come out of those if we don't fix it. I like that. Start with us, go to the planet. I like that. Thank you so much for being on, Michelle. Daphne,
thank you for inviting me.
Share your brilliance, and where can people find you?
My last brilliant thought is by honoring ourselves, we honor all of those around us. So just keep that in mind, and connect with me on Facebook, Daphne Paris, or sacredseeker.com is my website. And thank you so much for having me, Sherry and Lisa and Michelle. It was so much fun getting to know you and hearing amazing perspectives.
Yes. It was a great show, ladies. Thank you so much. I will see you backstage. Another great show. I really hope that you were able to get some tips and some tricks to enable you to have more peace and to offer it across the world. I think an overwhelming point was it does start with us. If we can be peace, then we can give peace. So I hope that you take that with you and have a wonderful holiday. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. We should be here next week. I'm planning on being here next week, but we'll see how it goes. As always, be sure to walk in love this week. Thank you so much. Mwah. Bye.